Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 1 will be presented about Eleanor Rigby by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And the first member, Dessya Diah Rahmawati, Siti Rohmah, Agustina Budi Tias, Cahyo W, and the last is Adit Setiawan.
Me, Dessya, and I want to explain about the part of narrative poetry, purpose, and speaker. And the first part is definition. Narrative poetry is a form of narrative poetry, often voicing as a narrator and a character. The whole story is usually written in a measured verse. Narrative poetry does not rhythm. The poetry that make up this genre may be short or long, and the story aside with it might be a complex, usually dramatic, a purposeful, varied, and matured. Narrative poetry includes epic, ballad, idyls, and lies. Some narrative poetry in the form of the novel in poetry. An example in The Ring and the Book by Robert Browning and the context of narrative poetry. Romance is narrative poetry that tells the story of a knight. And the second part is purpose. The purpose of narrative poem is a focus on a moral message that results in the conflict and resolution. This message might be a very clear, explicit, unclear, and explicit. Depending on the poem and might require additional analysis in order to get the root of the what a poem was attempting to share. Narrative poems are often read with intent of evoking a particular emotion in the reader. For example, some are written to inspire, encourage love, dedication to God or others. Part 2, A Paraphrase. This song is described as an unusual pop song due to that. It is described as a people loneliness, frustration, and failure. In the end, it seems that the two people were unable to fulfill their faith until they finally summoned to bury. This lyric will create confusion and curiosity in a way that not done by many others, and would has captured the heart of fans of the Beatles. Party is a speaker. And the inspiration of the song came to Paul McCartney when he was composing in the basement music room of the Astor family home at 57 Wimpole Street, London, 1996. Having completed the first verse, Paul then gave the outline of the song to John Lennon. The song is not filled with instruments by the Beatles, but is accompanied by a double-string quartet arranged by George Martin. So the song is experimental music that is different from the song of the rock band at the time. Despite this, John Lennon and George Harrison contribute with this song. Okay, the next presentation we will deliver by Siti Rohmah.
Okay, in this slide, I would like to present about the occasion of the poem. The first is about the time. The lyrics of the song on Eleanor Rigby are described as the song of a person who is feeling lonely, written by McCartney. The occasion of Eleanor Rigby's lyric is as follows. It explained that there was a marriage taking place in the court. The second is about the place. At night, a sock tailor but no one there. Who sews the socks? Is Father Mackenzie? The fact that Eleanor Rigby died at cards. Did Father Mackenzie bury her? No one came to see. This is the reason that song is described as a lonely person, all feeling lonely, where it came from, and where they all belong. The next slide is about the audience of the poem. The speaker speaks to people who live and die in anonymity, the world not taking any notice of the fact that they ever existed. The next slide is about central purpose of the poem. The Beatles describes the poem as a lonely poem, and the lonely is very sharply and deeply in the verse of the poem Eleanor Rigby. Loneliness is a sense of sophistication in art. So, the main purpose of this poem is to evoke the feeling behind the theme of loneliness. The next presentations will be delivered by Nina.
The next slide is element of poem. In this poem, it has 6 elements that can be analyzed. The first is connotative meaning, signifying or suggestive of an associative or secondary meaning in addition to the primary meaning. The second is imagery. Both use words that appeal to the reader's sense of sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. The third is figurative language. Figurative language creates picture by making comparison. And the next is rhythm, the pattern of beats or stresses in a poem. Both use pattern of stresses and unstressed syllables to create regular rhythm. And the next is diction, the choice and use of words and phrases in speech or writing. And the last, pattern of traditional poem. Connotative meaning. In this poem, there are some connotative phrase and sentence. The first is A. Lives in a dream. In this phrase, describe that Eleanor Rigby live in loneliness, like life in a dream, nothing anything but her. The second is B. Wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. It means her life in the world is not having meaning, nothing someone who cares with her. And the last is C. Eleanor Rigby died in the church and was buried along with her name. It means Eleanor Rigby died with her past and memories, and she just brings her name when she is died. Imagery. The imagery also contributes the fact of desolation and loneliness. Father Mackenzie Dorm is shocked in the night when there's nobody there, because he is lonely when one approaches him. Imagery also used to introduce irony to Eleanor Rigby, an unmarried woman, as picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been, which given an image of a lonely woman envying wedding. The example, the first, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door, and the second, picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been, and the last, darning his shock in the night when there's nobody there.
Then I will present about the next part of element of poems. It is figurative language. Figurative language creates a picture by making comparison. As on this poem, it has 3 figurative language. The first is metaphor. Metaphor are figures of speech that make comparison between 2 different things. As a literary device, metaphor creates implicit comparison without the use of the word. It is like or as. As in sentence, died in the church and was buried along with her name. And the next figurative language is personification. Personification is a figure of speech in which an idea or something is given human attribute and or feeling or in pronounced as if it were human. Personification is a form of general metaphor in which human characteristics are associated with things that are not human. As a sentence, darning his shock in the night when there is nobody there. The next figurative language is hyperbole. Hyperbole derives from a Greek word that has meaning of forecasting. It's a figure of speech that involves an exaggeration of ideas for the sake of emphasis. As a sentence, wearing the vest that she keeps in a jar by the door. Okay, the next slide is rhythm. Rhythm is the pattern of beat or stress in the poem. Both use pattern of stress as to create a regular rhythm. The song has a unique rhythm that incorporates a mixture of rhythm which in style, dream, and grave that has been established by the use of punctuation as well as the preparation of various stanzas. It can be bring the theme more into the light, and the use of the rhythm as well as the word choices. It brings to the light of the life of Eleanor that it is boring and so cold. In addition, it shows that she is living a life of loneliness, and with its isolation, which conveys that she is living in illusion as the world knows that he is happy with his life. As in sentence, life in a dream, wait at the window. It has the meaning that she wants to find love and friendship to be happy. As far as waiting by the window, I always see her in her house, alone, smiling, but feeling desperately alone inside.
Okay, the next is dictions. The poem is written in colloquial English. Wording is not fancy or pretentious. Simple words, yet they are strong, used sparingly, and leave a meaningful impact. I found the word darning and alone. The means of darning is a sewing technique for repairing holes or wound areas in fabric or knitting using needle and thread alone. And then alone, the meaning is the word lonely is repeated constantly throughout the poem. It is clear indication of the poem's themes and sets the sad and isolated tone of the poem. The next is patterns of traditional poem. Pattern of the traditional poems by the title is Eleanor Rigby is a poem that comes full circle. It begins with the line, look at all the lonely people, which is repeated twice. The poem also ends with these exact lines. The poem is written as a song and therefore there is a chorus which is repeated after every block of 6 stanzas. Okay, that's enough for our presentation. More or less, I and my group is very apologize. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.